If you've ever been told you're too much, too ambitious, too independent, too different, then you already know how this story feels. Grab your favorite drink, get comfortable. This isn't just about a house, it's about the price of your dreams when your family decides to charge you rent. And by the end, you'll understand why I keep a fireproof safe not for jewels, but for receipts. Let's begin. My brother, Elliot, placed the architectural model in the center of my reclaimed oak dining table with the reverence of a priest offering a sacrament. It wasn't a folder they slid this time, it was a miniature glass mansion, complete with tiny trees and a sculpted family of 4 standing in the yard. "We've named it Legacy House," my father said, his voice smooth as aged bourbon. "The groundbreaking is in 6 weeks. Your contribution makes it possible." I stared at the model, 3 stories of rendered glass and steel built on the 2-acre waterfront parcel that had been in our family for generations, the land I legally owned, having bought out my grandparents' share when they needed liquidity for medical care 7 years prior. The deed was in my safety deposit box. The taxes came from my account. "Contribution?" I asked, my fingers tracing the cool glass of the model's miniature roof. My mother, ever the harmonizer, leaned forward. "Not a contribution, sweetheart, a partnership. You sign your parcel over to the family trust. Elliot and Dad manage the build. We sell the 4 spec homes on the perimeter, and the main house is for all of us, a compound, a true legacy." Elliot's wife, Chloe, beamed, her hand resting on her pronounced bump. "Think of it, Maya, our children growing up together, Sundays by the water. Finally, we'd all be connected." The air in my penthouse, usually filled with the quiet hum of city ambition, grew thick. I was the older sibling, but in our family's mythology, I was the asteroid that had spun out of orbit, brilliant, perhaps, but cold and distant. Elliot was the sun. His light was warm, expected, central. At 16, he got the trust fund unlocked for a modeling portfolio that somehow bought a Porsche. I got a prepaid card for community college books and a handwritten note, "The world rewards action, not daydreams." My action was working 3 jobs. My daydream was the skyline view I now owned. "The parcel is worth $1.2 million, I said, my voice unnaturally calm. "It's the cornerstone of my net worth, my safety net." My father waved a dismissive hand. "This is bigger than a line item on a balance sheet, Maya. This is family. This is your chance to be part of something real, not just this." He gestured vaguely at my walls, at the art I'd collected, the floor-to-ceiling windows showcasing the city I'd conquered, this solitary empire. The word empire stung. To them, my success was isolation. To me, it was oxygen. And if I say no? The temperature dropped 10 degrees. Elliot's smile didn't falter, but it hardened, like frosting on a cake left out too long. Dad's affable mask slipped, revealing the shrewd negotiator beneath. "Then we exercise our moral claim. The family has an understanding about that land. Your grandparents would never have sold it to an outsider. You were just holding it, for us." That night, after they left the model as a reminder of what's possible, I didn't sleep. I went to my study and opened the fireproof safe. Not the small one for passports, the large, heavy one in the floor. Inside were not stacks of cash, but stacks of evidence. My life documented in triplicate. Claire, my first boss at the gritty architectural firm where I started as a coffee fetcher, had been a beast of a woman with a heart of gilded steel. "People will try to rewrite your history, Maya," she'd growled, watching me file invoices. "They'll claim your sweat was their rain, your blueprint was their idea. Document everything. Every coffee you buy for a client, every overtime hour, every parcel of land. One day, someone will try to take what's yours, and your paper trail will be your sword and your shield." I'd listened, obsessively. I pulled the land file. the purchase agreement from my grandparents, their shaky signatures witnessed and notarized, the wire transfer records, $300,000 from my savings, every dollar from designing spec homes for other people, the title insurance policy, the property tax receipts for 7 years, a handwritten note from my grandfather tucked into the original folder, for our practical dreamer, build something beautiful, love Gramps. The moral claim was a ghost. My proof was granite. But the ghost gained substance 3 days later, a formal letter from Legacy Family Trust, LLC. It cited promissory estoppel and unjust enrichment. It claimed a familial understanding constituted a binding oral contract, that my purchase was merely a formality to secure financing, and that I was, in effect, a trustee for the family. They gave me 10 days to voluntarily transfer the title. The letter was signed by my father, Elliot, and my uncle, the family lawyer. The social siege began subtly. A cousin posted an old family photo of us all on the land, picnicking. The caption, "Nothing lasts forever. Greed breaks bonds." An aunt texted, "Your grandmother is spinning in her grave." My mother left a voicemail, her voice cracked with a performative grief. "We're trying to build a future, Maya. Why do you insist on living in the past, alone?" Then came the masterstroke. A sleek, professionally produced video on Elliot's Instagram. The Legacy House Project, building more than homes. Drone shots of the beautiful, wild parcel, renderings of the glass mansion. Elliot, arm around Chloe, speaking to the camera. Family isn't just blood, it's shared vision, it's sacrifice for the next generation. We're so blessed to have the opportunity to create this, thanks to the collective support of our family. The comments were a symphony of praise, and one from a family friend, "What about your sister's lot? Is she in?" Elliot's reply, "We're praying she finds it in her heart to be part of the family again." I was being narratively erased, cast not just as the villain, but as the outsider. I felt the pull of the abyss. Maybe I was hoarding a piece of land I didn't need. Maybe my dream of someday building my own glass studio there was a selfish daydream. The guilt was a tide, and I was ankle deep. Then I opened the second file in my safe, the one labeled Family Finances, Research. Claire hadn't just taught me to document my own life, she'd taught me to understand the financial weather around me. If someone is suddenly very interested in your assets, it's usually because theirs are sinking. Months ago, a gnawing suspicion had led me to hire a discreet ex-forensic accountant. I'd given him names: my father's consulting firm, Elliot's lifestyle brand, the family trust. What he delivered was a constellation of debt, hidden behind a facade of golf memberships and European vacations. My father's firm was bleeding, 2 major clients lost, a line of credit maxed. Elliot's brand was a social media phantom, all perception, no profit. He'd taken out a $500,000 personal loan against his own home, now in default. The kicker, the Legacy Family Trust, LLC, had been formed not a year ago, but 6 weeks before they presented me the model. Its first transaction was a $200,000 loan from my uncle, secured by nothing but promise. The math was crystalline. My land, $1.2 million. Build cost for the spec homes and mansion, estimated $2.5 million. Pre-sales on the spec homes, $3 million. Net profit, $1.3 million. Just enough to wipe out Dad's line of credit, Elliot's defaulted loan, Uncle's loan, and leave a shiny new mansion for them to live in, mortgage-free. I wasn't being asked to join a legacy. I was being asked to finance their salvation with my skin. The war ended in a boardroom high over the financial district, but not before I launched my own campaign. I didn't hire a lawyer. I hired a strategist. Alistair Croft was a man who solved messy family capital situations. His first move? A countersuit so aggressive it made their heads spin. Not just denial of their claims, but a suit for slander of title, tortious interference, and a request for a temporary restraining order to halt any planning based on my land. His second move? A dossier. Not sent to them, but to the bank that held my father's business line of credit and the private lender hounding Elliot. A polite, factual cover letter. As you may be under the impression that the Legacy House project is a viable source of repayment for your client's debts, attached please find documentation establishing that the core asset is under unequivocal legal dispute and its title is unencumbered and held solely by my client, who is in no way affiliated with the LLC. The financial house of cards shuddered. The third move was mine. I filmed a 3-minute video. No tears, no drama. Just me, in my study, with my safe. I calmly held up key documents. The deed, my grandfather's note, the wire transfer. I explained, without naming names, how oral promises hold no weight against stamped county records. I didn't post it. I sent it privately to every single family member who had liked Elliot's post or sent me a guilt-ridden text. The silence was atomic. The settlement conference was not in a lawyer's office. It was at my parents' home, where it had all begun. The model sat on their table, now looking like a child's toy. My father looked old. Elliot looked furious and hollow. My mother couldn't stop twisting her wedding ring. Alistair did the talking. We can proceed to court. We will win. The discovery process will make all financial records, yours, Elliot's, the LLC's, public. The banks will call in their loans immediately. Or you sign this. The document was simple. Full, permanent relinquishment of any claim to my land, a public retraction of the Legacy House project, a non-disparagement clause, and one final, elegant twist of the knife I'd added. They had to sign over to me the only thing of monetary value they still fully owned, my grandmother's antique porcelain collection, which my mother had always promised to Elliot's wife. The porcelain or bankruptcy. Choose, I said, my first words of the meeting. My mother gasped. That's heirloom. That's meant for Chloe. And my land was meant for me, I replied, my voice quiet as falling dust. Gramps' note said so. You're not the only one who values legacy. They signed. What happened next? The aftermath is its own landscape. My father had to sell his firm for pennies. He now consults from a home office. The humility is a poor fit, but he's learning. My mother and I have a brittle, distant peace, mediated by text messages about the weather. She never got over the porcelain. Elliot and Chloe moved to a cheaper state. The fresh start was mandatory. He works in sales for a home goods company. Last I heard, he's actually quite good at it. The bitterness may yet season into something palatable, or it may fossilize. I'm detached from the outcome. The land? I still own it. But I didn't build my glass studio. Not yet. Instead, I partnered with Claire, now retired, to create the Foundation for Practical Dreamers. We bought a struggling downtown building and converted it into live workspaces for young, first-time female architects and artists. The down payment came from selling a single piece of my grandmother's porcelain, a vase that funded 3 scholarships. The rest of the collection sits in a display case in the Foundation's lobby. The plaque reads, "Legacy is not what you take, but what you choose to build." As for me, I still live in my penthouse. The view is just as stunning, but the safe in my floor is lighter. I scanned every document to a secure blockchain time-stamped cloud. The paper is gone. I don't need the reminder anymore. I learned that the most dangerous stories are the ones your family tells about you, where your ambition is greed, your independence is betrayal, and your success is a communal asset. Fighting that story isn't cruelty, it's the ultimate act of self-preservation. Your dream is not their emergency fund. Your proof is your power. And sometimes the only way to save the family you love is to be willing to lose the one they've become. So I'm turning the comments over to you. Have you ever had to defend your dream from the very people who should have cheered loudest? What was your fireproof safe moment? What boundary did you draw that changed everything? Share your story. I'll be reading every single one. And if you understand that documenting your journey isn't paranoia but power, hit subscribe. There are more battles to dissect, more victories to celebrate. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Now go check your deed.